The first question, I feel marriage, most human relations, and having family set back human from salvation or getting to nirvana. Any comments on my feelings? So you feel that if you get married, a marriage is like a bondage to you, and it stops you from getting into salvation. I think you are probably more right than wrong. Because look at how many marriages wind up in. I know the divorce rate in North America is more than 50%. It's getting higher and higher. And some people get divorced maybe after a month of the grandiose hotel wedding banquet. 1 month later, adios. And also, think about this. If you're living all by yourself, life is simple if you're living all by yourself. Now that you're living with another individual, do you understand him or her? And then you also have to understand his family members. And then you also have to get used to his or her habits, which were hidden politely and beautifully behind the courting date. Nobody knows each other's defects. The girl put the best makeup, and the guy dressed the best way he could, be very gentle. I remember I saw an Indian TV commercial many years ago. A young lady and a young man, they have courtship, and finally they decided that after a while, 1 or 2 years, decided that they should get married. And the man wanted to say something. I want to, of course, expressed that idea in a restaurant. And then the young girl said, "Wait a minute, I wanted to tell you something." I watched that on TV, on a TV commercial. And she stood up, and then she took her shoes off, the high heels, well, 4 or 5 inches, and that means she's actually shorter than during dating. Put her spectacles, glasses, thick, very thick one covering about half of the face. So she looked not the same without glasses and without the high heels. And then the girl said, "This is what I look like. You want to change your mind?" And the man said, No, wait a minute. So he grabs his hair off. There's a wig. He got bald-headed. So this is how I look like. I didn't have any hair. So they were being honest. So how did their marriage work out? I don't know. Better than hiding their habits. And because you tend to hide all your defects during courtship. And of course you won't tell the man that you have a nose job, you have an eye job, or you have all these various jobs on your face. You didn't tell them that. The girl said, "I wanted a man who is financially stable." And then the man know that and try to speak about financial stability of his family. Actually, his family is broke. So if that happened, why get married? Oh, but they're also good couples, no? You know. And they stayed together for 25 years, 30 years. When the man was age of 75, he came here to do an oracle flipping to ask, "Should I divorce my wife?" After 30 years. They couldn't live on again after 30 years. You're an oracle, you're asking for the opinion from a God about what decision to make. So of course, if you want to practice the Buddhist teaching, it's better to have a simple life. Why did the monks go for alms round? Because they don't want to spend the time in cooking. They want to spend all the time in meditation. Now, in the Chinese Buddhism, monasteries still cook. We cook, we wash dishes, we buy food. But in those ancient days when Buddha was leading the congregation, the Sangha order, they didn't do any cooking. They didn't have to prepare food. There's a bag for food. Bhikshu. Bhikshu means a begging religious member, breaking the evil chains, and also trying to eliminate delusions, mental delusions. So you have to simplify your life. Life is getting more and more complicated. Very, very complicated. Imagine the number of keys I carry. I can show you my keys. This is in the temple. More than 30 keys. At one time, there was a carpenter who said, well, do you need a carpenter in here? Many, many years ago, I said, yes, but our doors have very nice Oriental workmanship. He said, I can learn that. I learned Oriental workmanship in carpentry before. And plus, how many doors you got? Maybe 5 or 6 doors? No, I said, I have more than 100 doors in the temple. You count. You see how many doors? We have 24 doors. Look how many doors we have. Even doors, we have more than 100. You count them. Maybe you count them just for fun, just for interest. How many doors we got? I don't want to deal with this question for too long. Okay, that's it. So try to simplify your life. And if a real partner comes up to be a lifetime partner, don't get me wrong. Maybe she or he will help you in your way to spiritual odyssey. There are things like that. There are examples like that. The man doesn't believe in the Buddhist teaching, but the lady, the wife, believes in the Buddhist teaching, and the wife starts to learn, and the husband tries to learn at the same time, and both are going through to the spiritual odyssey to get to nirvana. And that would be the best couple. But how many of these couples are there? So I don't want to give you an absolute yes or no answer. Take it up as the time comes. Use your wisdom. Analyze it. Don't look at superficial values of a person. Don't just look at the person's face, how he looks like, the way he talks. Look behind the scene. It's difficult. It's difficult to understand what is behind a person. I'm still learning that. All right, next question. In this world, there are so many problems around everyone. What can I do that I will live quietly and in peace and have less problems? Come more to listen to the Buddhist teaching. Come here. Listen more to the Buddhist teaching and try to practice the Buddhist teaching. It's not a McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken, not a fast food approach. It's not fast food. You have to do it slowly, to learn it, to practice it. Next question. I'm losing my sight and feel that it is my eye consciousness. It has been frustrating and liberating. Is there something I am not understanding from my past life? There is no effect without a cause. So whatever you have experienced now is because of what you have done in the past. You must have done something in this life or in your past life that makes you losing your eyesight gradually. There was an arahat at the time of the Buddha, Anuttara, I think. And he was ordained as a monk at the age of 25. And he was quite lazy in his practice. And the Buddha admonished him and said, you have to work hard and you can't be lazy. And then he became very, very diligent and worked really hard in the studies. He worked so hard that he lost his eyesight. But after losing eyesight, he continued to practice meditation, and he attained divine eyes. In other words, he couldn't see, but in his meditation, he could see millions of miles away. He can see galaxies, he can see beings in other planets too. He's got divine eyesight. Maybe that's what you should be studying at, what you should do. Practice it. Practice the Buddha's teaching and chant your mantra, get blessings from Buddha to help you out. Maybe the Buddha's power, by you chanting the mantra and by you working hard in your practice, maybe you get help from Buddha to lengthen the period of losing your eyesight. Maybe if you would have lost your eyesight in 5 years or 6 years, maybe it lingers on for another 25 years. By then you're already 75. So don't just sit there and wait. Do something about it. Getting divine help. Getting help from bodhisattvas who are ready to help you. They are right there to help you out. Have you got that transistor radio in you, the mind radio, to link up with the frequency for that universal ground station? The universal ground station is there. You need that transistor radio, your mind, and you need to tune in the frequency to get that radio station. And what's that frequency? You want to get to 1470, 1830, there's a frequency that you should tune. What is that frequency? You could tune up for help from bodhisattvas. The name, the mantras. Learn the mantras, chant the name. A true story. A month and a half ago, there was a woman from Mongolia visiting this temple, a month and a half ago. Her daughter was studying at Simon Fraser University. And she, about 50, 55, came in to visit her daughter. And she came to the temple a number of times. And every time she came to the temple, she expressed upstairs that I wanted to see the abbot of the temple. I want to get some instructions from him. I want to talk to him. Can I talk to him? And the staff say, oh, but the abbot was very busy, so couldn't get a time that I can see her. But finally, we had a time, we arranged a time. So she was waiting there in the restaurant with her daughter, eating lunch, and waiting have a chat with me. I don't know, but just talking about ordinary things. So I went in, and before I sat down, I observed this lady. I found a glow in her, a radiance in her. It does not mean that I have supernatural power, but when I sit down, she has radiance, a glow, she looks different. And from more and more conversation talking to her, I found out that she spent 6 hours in chanting sutra and mantra. She chanted 10,000 Om Mani Padme Hum per day, 4 hours. And Diamond Sutra, Amitabha Sutra, a few sutra, she spent 6 hours. For how many years? For 15 years. 6 hours per day. So that's why she's different. So different. I felt this radiance and glow around her. I think that's the energy around. So why don't you get into that? Why don't you chant Om Mani Padme Hum? Maybe not 10,000, maybe 1,000 per day to start with, 20 minutes. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. I'm trying to find out what's the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum. I'm sure Lee would know about the people here. They know about what's the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum, or Alan, or Bunny. You know about it. I explained it many times. Concentrate on it, because you're losing your eyesight. What's the worst? You think that the worst will come. Why don't you lengthen it? Every day you're chanting 5,000 Om Mani Padme Hum, getting blessings from Avalokitesvara to lengthen your losing period. If you lose it in 5 years, maybe you lose it after 25 years. Maybe you never will lose it. Maybe you regain it. You still have a chance. Don't miss it out by doing something else. Okay, now, another question. You mentioned that the Buddha has 10 names, epithets, and one of it is teacher of gods and human. You mean the Buddha is a teacher of God? There's so many gods. So many gods in so many heavens. As I said, there are two kinds of heavens. One kind of heavens is heavens with one heaven is heaven of non-retrogression. When you go to that heaven, Amitabha's Pure Land, that heaven, you won't retrogress into reincarnation again. But you go to another kind of heavens, you will reincarnate back to the 6 paths of reincarnation. You still have to experience your life and death. So there's two kinds of heavens. Now, you have to continue to study the Sutra on Amitabha Buddha to find out how to go to heaven. How does heaven look like? What's the definition of a heaven? Not just blind belief will take you to heaven. You have to work at it. There are certain conditions. The details in the sutra. We'll have to learn all about it. So the Buddha is also the teacher of God. So many gods, just like so many Buddhas too. Talking about God, maybe I can tell you a story. A true story, I remember. At one time in a small town in Mississippi, a 5-year-old was holding $1 in his hand and going in almost every shop in the street where he was living, and he asked the shopkeeper. A 5-year-old holding $1 in his hand, getting into shops and along the street, and asked the shopkeeper, "Do you have God for sale? Do you have God for sale?" All these shopkeepers got annoyed and said, "Get away. What do you mean by God for sale?" They told him to get away. But then he went into another shop until he came to a shop where he was greeted by a conscientious shopkeeper, a 75-year-old approximately old fellow. And he loved children and he didn't want to reject him. And the old man asked him, the old shopkeeper asked him, "Hey son, why do you want to buy God? Do you have God for sale? Why do you want to buy God? You want to buy God?" The boy started to cry and said, "My uncle is in the hospital and the doctor said only God can save him." Then the old man started a conversation with the little boy, and he found out that the boy's name is Jimmy, and Jimmy lost both parents in the Mississippi hurricane, the hurricane Trafidi or something. I forgot the name of that hurricane, and he was raised by his uncle, Matthew. His uncle's name is Matthew. And Matthew was a construction worker, and 2 weeks ago he fell from a scaffold and while working and had since then been in a coma, and the doctor had tried everything to save him but in vain. The doctors said only God can save him. So the little boy went about, "Oh, God can save my uncle," thought that God must be the only medicine that would save my uncle's life. So he went about to every shop to buy God. The conscientious old the shopkeeper, being so, the boy being so lovable, and asked the boy, "How much money you got, son?" And Jimmy said, I had $1. Can I buy God for uncle?" The old man had tears swelled up in his eyes, but he smiled and said, "Of course you can buy. But I don't have God in here, but I have something similar. It's God's Kiss Cranberry. It's $1. It's $1. Okay, come here. So he went to the aisle and picked up a cranberry, a bottle of cranberry juice. It says God's Kiss. There's a brand name, God's Kiss. Now here, give me $1 and this is God's Kiss. It's similar to God. So little Jimmy was so happy holding that cranberry juice, God's Kiss, and he returned to the hospital and told the nurse, I've got God for uncle. Can you give it to him? So 2 days later, a group of doctors went into the hospital and started to analyze Matthew's, his uncle's sickness, and start to treat him. A group of doctors. And Matthew finally recovered from his coma and getting better and better every day. And he's finally recovered. But when Matthew was going up to the counter to clear his medical bill, to his surprise, he almost wanted to faint. $250,000. $250,000 for a group of doctors to treat him. Successfully treated him, became better again. And the nurse said, don't worry about it. There's a Mr. Watkins who already paid it for you. Well, who is that Mr. Watkins? And later he found out that that's the old man who owned that shop, the shopkeeper. So both Jimmy and Matthew went to the shop. Thank you very much, Mr. Watkins. You saved my life. And Mr. Watkins said, no. It's Jimmy who saved your life, not me.